He stepped back into the scorched clearing, even though every instinct in his body screamed at him to run. The cold mountain wind cut straight through his coat, but it was nothing compared to the feeling that something ancient was already watching him from the trees. Why does a man willingly walk back into the arms of what almost destroyed him the night before?
The ground beneath his boots was still black and cracked from the fire that had burned there 2 nights earlier. Nikola stood in the middle of the clearing, heart hammering, his breath visible in the freezing air. Just 48 hours ago he had been a simple 26-year-old shepherd and the best cavall player in the valley. He had followed a strange, haunting melody deep into the mountains, the notes pulling him like an invisible thread. Then she appeared. She stepped out from between the dark pines as if the forest itself had given her form. Tall and unnaturally graceful, with skin like pale moonlight and long hair the color of winter wheat that moved even when there was no wind. Her eyes were the most dangerous part, deep, ancient, and filled with a hunger that looked almost like desire. This was the Samodiva. She didn't rush. She simply sat on a fallen log and listened while he played. For the first time in his life, someone looked at him like he mattered. Not like the village girls who saw only a quiet shepherd. Not like his mother who saw only a son who needed feeding. She looked at him like he was rare. Like his music was a gift she had been waiting centuries to receive. She spoke softly, her voice like velvet wrapped around a blade.
Your music. It makes even the old gods remember they were once young.
That single sentence flooded him with warmth he had never known. That was layer 1, the charm, the love bombing that makes a person feel truly seen for the first time. The next morning, back in his mother's small wooden house, everything felt wrong. His mother placed a steaming bowl of bean soup in front of him, the same soup she had made for him since he was a child. The fire crackled warmly in the hearth. His younger sister laughed at something their father said, but Nikola felt nothing. The room looked flat, the colors dull, the laughter fake. Even the soup tasted like ash in his mouth. The real world had become a pale, lifeless imitation of the silver-lit clearing, and the woman who had looked at him like he was the only real thing in existence. Doubt crept in slowly, disguised as logic. Had he imagined how alive he felt with her? Had she really said those things, or had the darkness and exhaustion played tricks on his mind? She had gently suggested exactly that the night before, that his mind was tired and seeing things that weren't there. And now those words were growing inside him like roots. He told himself he was done. He told himself he would never go back. But as the afternoon light turned deep purple and the mountains glowed gold, he found himself standing at the window, staring toward the forest. His fingers itched for the cavall. When he finally picked it up and tried to play, the notes sounded small, confined, almost embarrassing. They no longer belonged to the village. They belonged to her now. That night, when the house fell silent and everyone was asleep, Nikola lay under his thick wool blanket, eyes wide open. 3 soft notes of his own melody began looping inside his head, but not in his own voice. They were slightly different, sweeter, more inviting. On the 4th repetition, a new note appeared, rising, unresolved, calling him. He told himself he would not go. He was still repeating that promise when his hand quietly lifted the iron latch on the door. The old men in the villages find this part hardest to explain. The outsider always asks, "Why did he go back?" And the answer is not that he was stupid. He knew the danger. He had the scorched boots and the grey in his face to prove it. He went back because something in that clearing had seen him, truly and completely seen him, in a way that nothing in his ordinary life ever had. And the want for that was stronger than fear. That is not a fairy tale weakness. That is a human one. And she had found it on the first night with the precision of someone who has been finding it for a very long time. He broke through the tree line. The clearing was exactly as he had left it, the burnt ring in the earth, the spring catching moonlight, and then from deep in the trees, his melody. Played back on a caval, note for note, in a style so close to his own, it made his throat tighten. Not identical, almost human. He sat down at the center of the scorched circle and did not play back. He just listened. Some instinct in the part of him that had survived the first night insisted on this one small refusal. The melody stopped mid-phrase. She stepped out of the trees. The smile was there, always there, like something nailed to the front of whatever she actually was. But her eyes held something different this time. She had come expecting to finish what she started. Instead, she found a man who had walked himself back into the trap and then refused to perform on cue. The expression that moved across her face was not anger. It was interest. She stepped out from the trees again, moving with that same unnatural grace. The calm, knowing smile was still on her face, but this time her eyes held something new. Curiosity. Not gentle curiosity, the kind a predator gets when the prey walks back into the trap on his own and then tries to resist performing on command. She tilted her head slightly and spoke, her voice soft as falling snow.
You came back faster than I expected, little musician.
The temperature in the clearing seemed to drop. Nikola realized in that moment that surviving the first night hadn't made him strong. It had only made him more interesting to her. If any part of this story feels painfully familiar, if you've ever gone back to someone you knew was dangerous simply because they made you feel truly seen, tell me about it in the comments. I read every single one. If you want to find out what the Samodiva does when she decides a man is worth breaking slowly, Episode 2 drops in a week. Turn on notifications and subscribe so you don't miss it.